Here's a short story inspired by the title. Top HFY Stories, The Letter of the Law. The courtroom was silent. The only sound came from the faint hum of the ventilation system, and even that seemed to shrink under the weight of the moment. Humanity was on trial, again. Standing at the center of the Galactic Tribunal, Commander Elena Vasquez adjusted her uniform, the Earth insignia on her chest catching the pale light. She surveyed the chamber, her gaze sharp. The Xenos watching from the observation tiers, dozens of species from across the galaxy, had already decided humanity was guilty. Their expressions ranged from smug satisfaction to outright disdain. But Elena wasn't here to plead for forgiveness. She was here to win. The lead judge, a towering, crystalline being called Arvex 17, spoke first. Its voice reverberated in the massive hall, a symphony of tones that demanded attention. Commander Vasquez of Earth, you stand here to answer for your species' repeated violations of the Galactic Concord. The charges: unprovoked expansion, manipulation of less advanced species, and disregard for ecological protocols. How do you plead? Elena stepped forward. Not guilty, Your Honor. A murmur rippled through the chamber. Typical humans, someone hissed. Arvex 17's crystalline structure shimmered as it processed her answer. Humanity's actions on Haxor Prime alone resulted in the extinction of 3 native species. Your kind has been warned before. Elena's lips twitched into a small smile. Your Honor, with all due respect, I'd like to invoke Article 72, Section B of the Galactic Concord. That got their attention. The murmurs grew louder, with some outright hisses and clicks of disapproval. Even Arvex 17's glow dimmed momentarily. You dare invoke the letter of the law? Arvex 17 asked. I do, Elena replied confidently. Article 72, Section B, clearly states that a species accused of ecological violations may claim the right to adaptive compensation if they demonstrate net positive contributions to the galactic ecosystem. And you claim humanity has contributed positively? One of the other judges, a serpentine creature, interjected, its voice dripping with disbelief. Elena didn't flinch. Yes, we have. Allow me to present the evidence. With a gesture, a holographic display sprang to life behind her. It showcased images and data streams, terraformed planets, lush ecosystems restored from barren wastelands, and countless species catalogued and preserved by human efforts. Humanity isn't perfect, she began, her voice steady. We've made mistakes, but we've also learned. The Galactic Concord talks about balance. For every misstep we've taken, we've gone further to make amends. Haxor Prime was a tragedy, yes, but that tragedy led to the development of bioreconstruction technology that revived 2 extinct species and ensured the survival of countless others. The holograms shifted, now displaying thriving worlds humans had rehabilitated. We don't deny our past, Elena continued, but we refuse to be defined by it. Humanity's strength lies in our adaptability and determination. We don't just survive, we improve. That's what Article 72 is about, balance, and that's what we've upheld. Despite what this tribunal believes. The chamber fell silent again, but this time the silence was charged with thought. Even the most hostile Xenos seemed to reconsider their judgment. Arvex 17 finally spoke, its tone less accusatory. Your argument is compelling, Commander Vasquez. We will deliberate on the evidence and reconvene. As the judges filed out, Elena allowed herself a small sigh of relief. She knew humanity was far from innocent, but if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was fighting tooth and nail for their place among the stars. And if that meant using the letter of the law to turn the tide, so be it. After all, the universe wasn't fair, unless you made it so. Here's the continuation. The chamber emptied, leaving Elena alone with her thoughts. Her comm implant buzzed faintly. She tapped the side of her ear and whispered, "Go ahead." "Commander," came the voice of Lieutenant Harris, stationed aboard the Aegis, the human flagship orbiting the tribunal planet. "How did it go?" "They're deliberating," she replied, her voice calm but steely. "We've bought some time, but it's not over. What's the situation up there?" "Calm for now," Harris said, "but the Velran fleet hasn't stopped shadowing us since you entered the tribunal. They're waiting for an excuse. Let's not give them one. Stay on high alert, but keep the weapons systems cold. We can't afford any slip-ups." "Understood, ma'am. Let's hope the judges see reason." Elena ended the call, but a nagging doubt lingered. The Velrans had been humanity's loudest critics ever since the Haxor Prime incident. They'd lobbied for humanity's expulsion from the Galactic Concord for years. If the tribunal ruled against Earth, the Velrans wouldn't hesitate to press their advantage, and humanity wasn't ready for another war. She straightened her uniform and exited the chamber, heading for her quarters in the diplomatic wing. The corridors were bustling with activity, delegates from dozens of species hurrying to their own meetings or whispering conspiratorially in corners. She caught snippets of their conversations. Humans think they can twist the law to suit their needs. Arrogant species, always meddling. But they did save the Garrick system from collapse. The whispers were a mix of disdain and grudging respect. It didn't matter. Elena wasn't here to win popularity contests. She was here to win the tribunal. When she reached her quarters, she found an unexpected visitor waiting for her, a Velran diplomat named Surkith. His long, sinewy body was coiled neatly on the bench outside her door, his scales glinting faintly under the corridor lights. Surkith, Elena greeted coolly. To what do I owe the pleasure? Surkith's vertical pupils narrowed as he regarded her. You humans are clever, too clever, perhaps. Invoking Article 72 was a bold move. It's called knowing the rules, Elena said, crossing her arms. Something we learned from your people. Surkith's lips curled in what passed for a smile among his kind. True, but rules can be flexible. Tell me, Commander, what will you do if the tribunal rules against you? Prepare an appeal, she said, her tone clipped. Why, are you here to gloat? Not at all, Surkith said smoothly. I'm here to offer a deal. Elena raised an eyebrow. A deal? From you? The Velran Consortium has no desire for open conflict, Surkith said, his voice low and persuasive. If humanity were to cede certain territories, nothing vital, just a few systems on the outer rim, we could advocate for leniency on your behalf. Elena's jaw tightened. You want us to give up territory in exchange for your advocacy? Let me guess, you'll frame it as a magnanimous gesture of peace. Better than the alternative, Surkith said, his tone icy. A tribunal ruling against you would lead to sanctions, possibly even your expulsion from the Concord. The Velran fleet wouldn't be the only one ready to act. Consider your options, Commander. Elena's mind raced. The Velrans were testing her resolve, probing for weakness, but she couldn't show even a sliver of doubt. We don't negotiate under duress, she said firmly. If the tribunal rules against us, we'll face the consequences, but we won't give up our sovereignty to satisfy your ambitions. Surkith's smile faded. Bold words, Commander. I hope, for your sake, the tribunal agrees with your interpretation of the law. With that, he slithered away, leaving Elena standing alone. She clenched her fists, anger simmering beneath her calm exterior. Humanity had come too far to bow to bullies like the Velrans. If the tribunal ruled in their favor, it would be a victory not just for Earth, but for every species that refused to be crushed by larger powers. As she re-entered her quarters, her comm implant buzzed again. This time, it was Admiral Tagawa from Earth's High Command. Elena, he said, his voice heavy with concern. We've intercepted Velran communications. They're positioning ships near Haxor Prime. If this tribunal doesn't go our way, they're planning to make a move. I figured as much, Elena replied. They've already tried to strong-arm me into a deal. Do we escalate? Tagawa asked. No, she said firmly. Not yet. Let's see how the tribunal plays out, but tell the fleet to be ready. If the Velrans want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. Tagawa hesitated before replying. Understood. Good luck, Commander. As the connection ended, Elena sat down at her desk, staring at the holographic display of the tribunal chamber. The stakes had never been higher, but humanity didn't get this far by backing down. Whatever the outcome, she would ensure the galaxy remembered one thing: humans didn't just survive, they thrived even when the odds were stacked against them. The tribunal reconvened the next morning. The air in the chamber was heavy with anticipation as the judges filed in, their forms reflecting the diversity of the galaxy itself. Arvex 17 took the center position, its crystalline body glowing faintly as it prepared to speak. After thorough deliberation, the lead judge began. We have reached a decision regarding the charges brought against humanity. Elena stood tall, her face a mask of calm determination. Behind her, a human delegation sat in silence, their expressions tense. The Velran representatives, seated to the left, watched with smug anticipation. The evidence provided by Commander Vasquez has been reviewed in detail, Arvex 17 continued. Humanity's actions on Haxor Prime were indeed catastrophic, resulting in the extinction of 3 native species and irreparable damage to the ecosystem. However, the rehabilitation efforts that followed, including the successful reintroduction of 2 extinct species and the development of advanced ecological technologies, demonstrate a clear commitment to restitution. Elena's heart raced, though she betrayed no emotion. She focused on every word, knowing the decision could go either way. Furthermore, Arvex 17 added, the invocation of Article 72, Section B of the Galactic Concord has been deemed valid. Humanity's contributions to galactic ecosystems, including the terraforming of barren worlds and the preservation of endangered species, have been acknowledged as net positive contributions to the galactic balance. A ripple of murmurs swept through the chamber. The Velran delegation's smugness gave way to visible unease. Therefore, Arvex 17 declared, this tribunal finds humanity not guilty of the charges of systemic ecological negligence. However, let this serve as a warning, any future violations will result in harsher penalties. Humanity's status within the galactic concord is upheld. The murmurs turned into a cacophony. Elena allowed herself the faintest smile as relief washed over her. Humanity had won, but she knew the real battle was just beginning. Thank you, Your Honor, Elena said, her voice steady. Humanity will not forget this opportunity to continue proving its worth. As the judges exited the chamber, Elena turned to leave, only to find Surkith waiting for her by the exit. His expression was inscrutable, but his tail twitched, a sign of irritation among Velrans. Congratulations, Commander, he said, his tone clipped. It seems the tribunal has bought into your carefully crafted narrative. It's called the truth, Surkith, Elena replied evenly. You should try it sometime. Surkith's pupils narrowed. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. The Velran Consortium doesn't forget, nor do we forgive. Neither do we, Elena shot back, so tread carefully, Surkith. Humanity doesn't back down. Surkith hissed softly, a sound of disdain. Before slithering away, Elena watched him go, her mind already racing with the implications. The Velrans wouldn't stop at words, they would act. Humanity's place in the galaxy was secure for now, but the challenges ahead were clear. Back aboard the Aegis, Elena stood on the bridge, gazing out at the stars. Harris approached, his expression a mix of relief and concern. We did it, he said, the tribunal ruled in our favor. For now, Elena replied, her voice tinged with resolve, but this isn't over. The Velrans are already planning their next move, and we need to be ready. Orders, ma'am? Elena turned to face her crew, her eyes sharp and determined. Prepare the fleet, strengthen our alliances, and remind the galaxy of one thing: humanity doesn't just follow the letter of the law, we define it. The crew erupted in cheers, but Elena's gaze remained fixed on the stars. The fight for humanity's place in the galaxy was far from over, but one thing was certain: they wouldn't face it as victims, they would rise as champions. The Aegis hummed with quiet activity as Elena stood on the observation deck, watching Earth spin in the distance. The tribunal had ruled in their favor, but the tension still weighed heavy on her shoulders. Humanity had dodged a bullet, but Surkith's warning replayed in her mind like a bad dream. The Velrans wouldn't sit idly by, they never did. Her comm implant buzzed again. She tapped it. Vasquez here. Commander, Admiral Tagawa's voice came through, calm but urgent. We've detected unusual activity near Haxor Prime. Velran ships are amassing just outside the system's recognized borders. It's not a direct violation of the Concord, but it's close. Elena's jaw tightened. Of course they are, they're probing us. Any movement toward the neutral zone? Not yet, Tagawa said, but they've deployed recon drones. They're looking for weaknesses. Let them look, Elena said firmly. They won't find any. Deploy our stealth probes to shadow their fleet. I want a full report on their movements every hour. Understood. One more thing, Commander, there's chatter about a Velran-backed insurgency on Haxor Prime. Some locals may be turning against our reconstruction teams. Elena swore under her breath. The Velrans were playing dirty. As usual, they couldn't challenge humanity outright, so they were trying to destabilize them from within. I'll handle it, she said. Prepare a diplomatic response for the Concord, make sure they know we're watching, and tell the fleet to stay on high alert. As the connection ended, Elena turned to the observation window, her reflection staring back at her. The Velrans wanted her to make the first move, to stumble into a mistake they could exploit, but she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She left the observation deck and headed for the briefing room, where her senior officers were already waiting. The room was alive with holograms, maps of Haxor Prime, fleet movements, and intelligence reports. All right, let's get to it, Elena said, taking her place at the head of the table. The Velrans are pushing us, and we're not going to let them. Harris, what's the situation on Haxor Prime? Lieutenant Harris stood and gestured to the holograms. Our reconstruction teams are still making progress, but we've had reports of sabotage, power plants going offline, supply convoys delayed. Local authorities are cooperating, but the Velrans are clearly stirring the pot. They're trying to make us look incompetent. Elena nodded. And the fleet? They've got at least 20 ships stationed just outside the neutral zone. Harris continued. Heavy cruisers, carriers, the works. They're not violating any laws, but they're close enough to respond quickly if something happens. They want us to blink first, Elena said, Classic Velrun strategy, we won't give them the satisfaction. She turned to her chief engineer, Commander Yates. Yates, how fast can we deploy the new orbital defense platforms around Haxor Prime? 2 weeks, maybe less if we push the crews hard, Yates replied, but the Velruns will notice the moment we start. Let them notice, Elena said. Make sure they know we're reinforcing, but keep the deployment strictly within Concord regulations. We're not the aggressors here. Her gaze swept across the room. This isn't just about Haxor Prime or the Tribunal. The Velruns want to test our resolve, to see if we'll fold under pressure. We won't. Humanity doesn't just survive, we thrive, and we'll make sure the galaxy remembers that. The officers nodded, their determination matching hers. As the briefing ended, Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose. The Velruns wanted a war, but humanity wasn't going to give them one, not on their terms. Later that night, as Elena stood alone on the bridge, she thought about the battles ahead. Humanity had come a long way, but the road was still steep. They'd faced extinction, ridicule, and now open hostility, but they'd always found a way to rise above. Commander, Harris said, approaching her, you think they'll back off? Elena didn't answer immediately. She stared out at the stars, her expression resolute. No, she said finally, but that doesn't matter, because when they make their move, we'll be ready. And with that, she turned back to the bridge, ready to lead humanity into the next chapter of their fight for survival, not as victims, but as pioneers carving their place among the stars.